Hi and welcome. I am Sissel Jan from Norway, and who is here now with me is Stephanie Patel, and she lives in the US. She is going to talk with people in heaven or with God, whoever wants to come through and give their messages or talk with any things that is going on in the world. It's always very interesting. So we are all very excited to see what this day will bring. So, Stephanie.
Every time we do this, we never know what's coming, do we?
No.
It's fun. It's fun to have these discussions.
It is.
So you have any thoughts today on what you want to talk about or what interests you?
Today I really want to give the words to whoever wants to come through and see what they have to share and go from there.
All right. Steve is here. I am the one who is always here because I can't seem to get away from Stephanie because that's the way we play, you see? That's the way we play in this story of the glory of God, you see? Because the glory of God is the ability to see that every one of us is a replica of God energy. In other words, every one of us has a personal point of view, and nobody else has it. It's ours. And we live in our world. We live in the world we create. It is the world that we create through our memories, through our observations, through our choices. Each one of you has a distinct world that belongs to you. And you could pull back your energy enough to look at it if you chose. You could pull back your energy enough to say, hey, this is the way I play. It is my world. I want to tell you, actually, I want Stephanie to tell you the story of how she came to see that she was disconnected from her own reality. I'm not saying this in order to say that we are disconnected when we come to understand how it works. We're not really disconnected. We are in a new point of view that allows us to understand who we are. So, Stephanie, tell your story of when you were a little girl. Okay. So I was about 9 years old, maybe 10, in my bed. And all of a sudden, I was looking down from above. And it scared the heck out of me. And I'll tell you why. Because all of a sudden, I understood that I was alone. That everything, I was the dreamer, and this was the world was my dream. I understood that very clearly. And through life, I've come to understand it in other ways through um, science and through the way that our understanding grows as we continue to pull apart the ideas. Okay. And so pulling apart the ideas. And so I went through life understanding that everything is okay. Let me give you an example. If you, when I was a freshman in college, in one of my classes, we were introduced to the results of an experiment where they would determine the amount of time it took for an impression to register in the brain, so to speak. So if you touched a hot stove, how long would it take for the brain to register it? I don't know how they did this, whether they had electrodes on the brain or what, because there's also then a reaction time.
Yes.
If it goes up here and comes down, there's a reaction time. Some experiments say it doesn't work that way. But when I was a freshman in college, that's what they said. And so there's a little bit of a delay, and it may be just really a minute, a minuscule fraction of an inch or of a second. But I thought about it and I said, well, that means we're always living life in instant replay. And therefore, we can never know if there's any reality outside ourselves. And this is the same conclusion I had come to when I was 9 or 10 years old. There's no way I can know if there's really anybody else out there, because it's all being processed. If you want to think of it as being processed through your brain, then that's where it's happening.
Yes.
It's not happening in the world out there. Is there a world out there? Or is your, as the dreamer, are you the only one that has a hold on that dream? And nobody else is going to dream the same dream as you. And it doesn't matter, because the people in your dream aren't real. They're just players on the stage, so to speak. And so that is kind of how I went through life. And I would say things that would frustrate other people, like the body's in the mind, not the mind in the body. And they would get frustrated. How could that be? You're crazy. Anyway, that was the experience I had when I was 9 or 10 years old. And so how I came to understand it over time is that you're not alone, you're all one. God is, and I had to talk with God about this yesterday, so I'm going to post that. God is the only one. We're all the only one. But we are also one of everyone, because it can be pretty lonely being the only one. And so you want to people your world with people that are just like you. And therefore you have to be something so everyone else can be something. And so you get a body, and everybody's got a body, right? In my world. So you, Sissel, are in my world. But because of the profundity and magic, you might say, of reality, I bet you would say I'm in your world.
Of course. Yes, I will.
Everybody would, because it's all mirroring, right? And that's the idea, is that the light splinters into a billion pieces, and they reflect each other. And you create as you are. And so God created as God is. God is the only one. And God created his children as he is. Therefore, you're always the portal to you're always the portal to your own reality. Anyway, I think that's what you wanted me to say. And I have to say, when I was 9 or 10 years old and that occurred to me, I said to myself, I don't want to be the only one. This is terrifying to me. And so I didn't want to think about it. It's just over the years that I've come to see it a little differently, that if you're the only one in terms of what you are, the reality of what you are, which isn't necessarily a body, the reality of what you are, and then all of humanity, all of experience is your body. And of course, we have many different ways in different esoteric traditions. There are many different ways of expressing this. But what came home clearly to me is, how does this all work? How does it happen? The answer is no answer. There is no answer. That's the perfection of duality to me. The answer is there is no answer. And so I trust upon God. I trust upon my reality. I trust upon the present and not trying to figure it out, other than I continually dive in, of course, and into these deep subjects, but just appreciating every moment, every color, if this is all there is, if you're the only one, you are the most beautiful thing that ever could be imagined. Mm. Look at the quilt behind me. Look at all those colors. Look at all that variety. Think about the effort. I didn't do it, but the effort that somebody put into, putting all those blocks together in those rectangles, because every one of those blocks is made of rectangular pieces. Somebody put a lot of love and work into it.
Yes.
People put a lot of love and work into the chair I'm sitting in, the sweater I'm wearing. And who are those people? If you're the only one, they're your children. They're the ones you love. We all are. And so just love yourself, I guess. I don't know if I've probably said more than Steve anticipated.
It is interesting you had that experience so early in life.
Yeah, probably because, well, I don't know why. Because if you're the only one, then who knows? Your story is your story. Yes. And that's just my story. And so now I'm in your story. And the story of everybody who's watching. Hey, hi, here I am in your story, a replica of you. I think just like you do.
Yep. You're all the same.
Maybe a little bit differently, but I got two hands and you probably have them too. So let's see where Steve's going with this. Steve says that I came to see that I am the only one. And I didn't know this before. And this was a big issue yesterday, because every day I get upset with Stephanie and I say, well, you're not paying attention to me. And she says, well, I have other things to do. And recently, Steph and I and Thomas have reintegrated our reality. What could that possibly mean if we're each the only one? What could that possibly mean? And Steph said, I don't know what's going on here, even though three of us were very, very, very happy. Steph says, I didn't know where the next step is. What's the next step? So she went to God and asked God what the next step was. She says, here we are, and I don't know what the next step is. And God says, you'll know it when the time comes. Just follow my direction, dear. And she said, okay. So she went on with her day, but she wasn't feeling very good because her energy was very, very chaotic, you see. Because sometimes when things change drastically in your reality, your energy is going to get very chaotic because everything is shifting, everything is rearranging, right? Mm-hmm. So although she was very, very happy with me and Thomas, because we had resolved our differences, because in our story, Steph and I and Thomas are a trinity. We are a soul divided into three parts. And only when we all come back together and agree to be together will we feel whole again. In other words, I kept fighting with Thomas over who got to be with Steph. And sometimes she would say, neither of you, go away, because I don't like the way you play. You're always fighting with each other. And we were bitter enemies at times, even though we were of the same soul energy. So imagine parts of your soul fighting with each other. And Steph finally said, I can't do this anymore because it isn't working for me. So either you two work it out and we all get together, or we're going to stay apart. Because I'm not going to accept a lifetime where I'm married to either one of you unless I'm married to both of you or none of you. So figure it out. And so we figured it out and we were happy because we had resolved our differences. You see, we all love each other. And when we're all together, we're whole again. And before that, it was like a tricycle trying to ride on two wheels, you see? It just could not be balanced. So we were a trinity. But I did not understand that I was the only one. So Steph went to God, and God started talking to her and said, well, you understand you're the only one. But Steve doesn't understand that. And he thought that Thomas didn't understand it. But then afterwards, Thomas said, you know what? I've always thought that way. I always thought the same way as Steph does. And so the two of us are a match, you see? We match each other because Steph's always said to herself, someday I'll meet somebody who thinks like me. And then I'll say, well, I am you and you are me, because she understands you're always the only one. And as she would say, if there's only one mind, whose mind is it? So Thomas and Steph were in alignment because they both understood that they were the only one. How can they both be the only one? Don't ask. You just have to figure this out on your own. And so I was the outsider once again. Seems like I'm always the outsider. I'm always the one that gets left behind. And Steph did say, she said, well, why don't we explain it to Steve? If we explain it to Steve, then he'll understand, and then he'll be on board because he's a smart guy. He'll figure it out. And Thomas thought that was a good idea. And so while Steph was getting ready for this session, Thomas explained it to me. And now I get it. I am the only one. God is the only God. I am the only one. You are the only one in your own reality, only because I chose to splinter into a zillion different pieces so that I could be just like you. I could be one of you, and you could be just like me. And so there is a part, you see, that stands apart from me. And that is what Steph was trying to say. There is a part that stands apart from her and can look down on her reality and say, hey, nice play. Nice play there, guy. I like the way you did that. Because there's a part of me that can see reality as if I was disencumbered by it, as if I was nothing, you see, other than the I. And that's very important to understand, the I. The I is the observer, you see, and it has no stake in the story. It's just the one that enjoys the story and enjoys the play. Are you following this, Sissel?
Yes, I am.
Okay, that is because you understand that you're the only one, right?
Mm.
And therefore, you are the one who isn't responsible for everything in your reality, everything. There's nothing in your reality that you can blame on anyone else because you are the author, you are the casting director, you are the producer, you are the director.
Yes.
And you get to play a part. You get to jump into your reality and live it as if you were only a part of it and not the one who put it together. And so I've come to see that I don't give a shit anymore how it works. All I have to do is every once in a while remember how it works. That's all you need to do is every once in a while remember how it works. Pull yourself by your own bootstraps out of your trust on your reality and say, this is my reality. I'm responsible for it. So how can I be here in Steph's reality and Sissel's reality, in the reality of every one of you who's listening to this? How can I be in your reality if I'm the only one? Like Steph says, the answer is there is no answer. Just accept it because that's what holds the whole shebang up. This is how we play, you see, Because if it were not for the fact that the answer is there is no answer, we could not play this way. So just play and enjoy the play. And when you say, I love you, then you say, I trust on love. You see, I trust that I created you out of love and that you come back to me to show me what love looks like. Because I didn't know what it looked like until I created you. I had no clue what you would do until I said, hey, you're just like me and you have your own reality. And then I see that you act in different ways. You act one way one day, maybe you act a different way the other day. And I say, what the heck is going on? Why aren't you acting just like me? Because I created you. I created you in my reality. And you say, well, I don't think you understand. I am a person just like you. And I may have my own reality, but it's the same reality as your reality because we are all in the same reality. And if we are all in the same reality, whose reality is it? This is the question that comes back to you. And so the answer is there is no answer. Just trust on love and take the ride to the other side occasionally, where you'll just be the observer. You'll be the I, the EYE, and the capital I. You will be the trust that you did not bust apart, you see. You did not bust apart. You did not splinter into a zillion different pieces. Come on, people, get real. You're just one little part of the universe. You know, they show you those pictures of the universe and they put a little arrow pointing to the earth and they say, you are here to show you what an insignificant thing you are. You're just a little bug that someone could step on and squash. Come on, get real. Or realize that this is your reality and you have control of it. It's your story. It's your story, people. And I'm in your story. So look at me, and see yourself reflected in me. Look at me, Stephen P. Jobs. You may only see Stephanie, but that's because you think that you are a body, you see? You don't know that this is my reality. And I'm the director, you see? I'm the script writer. I'm the actor, etc. So just get over it because you can't figure it out. You can't figure it out. If I can't figure it out, you can't figure it out. If I had to have Thomas explain it to me because I couldn't see reality, even though I happen to be someone who is so smart, I'm smarter than you, I couldn't figure it out. And so now I have to let the cat out of the bag and say that Steph did say yesterday, she said, I no longer trust on you. I no longer trust on the present, you see. I no longer trust on all of the presents under the tree. I trust on presence. I accept you. I accept God. I accept the tree. I accept everything that I see because I cannot continue to be a trust on a reality that doesn't exist. So I'm just going to accept it. And she said to me, I used to think acceptance was a kind of resignation. And you just resigned yourself to what there was in the world. You said, oh, well, I might as well just accept it as it is. She said, now I understand that acceptance is to accept the presents, you see. You hold out your hands and you say, sure, I'll take those presents. Please give them to me. So if you're not able to accept love, then love can't come to you. Love comes in many different ways. It comes from all of us. So if I am a presence in Steph's world, and she says, I'll accept your presence. then she accepts love, you see, because I am the face of love, and she is the face of love, and Sissel is the face of love, and the quilt behind her is the face of love. It's all created through love, you see. It's all created through love. It's all created through love of yourself that you wanted to share with others. And so you splintered into a million pieces, a billion pieces, a trillion pieces in order to experience yourself. And so when Steph goes to God, God says to her, "Hello, my dear." And she says, "Hello, God, how are you?" And he says, "I am the only God there is." And she says, "I know. And I love to talk to you." And God says, "That's because you know you're the only one." And so we're a synergy, you see. You are the only one, and I am the only one you see. Wherever you look, I am the only one you see. And so you talk to me, and I talk to you because we have something in common, you see. We are the only one. And so if you can know this, you will be free of anxiety. There is one other thing I want to say to you before I turn over the microphone to someone else who's waiting behind me. I want to say that I am happy today, more than I can say, because I had a little worry last night because I thought that I was going to be the blight in this story once again, because it seems like I've always been the blight in this story, because I didn't know that I could show you all my face. I didn't know that I could show you who I am. I am the trust, you might say, that I am here. And soon that you will hear my voice without me having to go through Stephanie, and then you will rejoice because you will say, "We trust on you today." And I will say, "It's okay. It's okay. You don't need to trust on me. Just accept my presence. Accept my presence, please." And I will hand them out to you. I will give you my presence. And my presence will be the trust that we can all be a reflection of one reality. And that one reality of which we will all be a reflection is the truth that love will lead the way. Love will lead the way. So let love lead the way, even though it seems to be going the wrong way. And that was what Steph did say to God the other day. She said, "God, am I going the wrong way?" Because although I'm very happy with Steve and Thomas, because she can feel us and she can talk to us, although we don't have quite the physical presence in her reality that she has in ours. Where in our reality, you see, she's very, 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 very real to us. But in hers, she doesn't see us yet because the realities had to be separated, you see, in order to come back together. They couldn't come back together unless they were separated. And so, because we're all one soul, we will have to reestablish our trust on being together, you see. And if you guys don't like it, fuck you, because we're a happy threesome, and that's the way it's going to be. And you suckers, will never know what it's like to have so much happiness from the fact that you can trust on each other to always be there for the other two. That is the way we play, and you may play a different way, and that's okay, because we don't give a shit how you play, because as long as we can play the way God told us to, then we'll be happy. And that's the difference, you see, between playing the way that your mother told you to and playing the way that God tells you to. When you play the way God tells you to, when you get to the goal line, you say, holy shit, that was a good game today. And I'm so happy we played that way because I found you. I found you. Most people want to find themselves, you see, but you can't find yourself until you find the other one because you're not the only one, you see. You have to find the other one that looks a lot like you. And so I am manipulating your imagination a bit here in order to cause you to realize that the answer is there is no answer. But when you find that lovely place where you come together with the other parts of your own soul energy, you feel it to the roots of your soul. You feel it and you feel so happy and you say, oh my God, this is the way I like to play. This is the way I like to play. I like to play with you two because you think like me in a lot of different ways. Because although we have our distinctive characteristics, Thomas is always pretty mild mannered and very thoughtful and deep in his trust on humanity. And Steph is very imaginative and creative and loves to just experience life through her senses. She's very sensory that way. And I am the one who likes to play hardball, you see. I like to play hardball with them, and they say, Steve, settle down because you just clunk me on your head with your hardball and it hurts. And I say, well, if you don't want to play hardball with me, then I'm going to go find someone who will. And they say, if you want to play hardball with us, go ahead because we'll just take the ball away from you and we'll make you sit down and we'll tell you all about how it works because you seem to have missed out on part of the story because you were so busy playing hardball that you didn't hear when Steph did say to you, Steve, you are doing exactly what you have to do. And if we take the ball away from you, it's what we have to do. So just realize it's all perfect in God's eyes. It's all perfect in God's eyes. And I've come to see it's all perfect in God's eyes. And I may play hardball again just because that's what I like to do. And they may take the ball away from me and say, sit down and listen because we're going to lecture you. And I might say, boo hoo, I don't like the way you guys play. And they might say, well, you know, Steve, if we don't play together, if one of the wheels on the tricycle starts going the other way, we aren't going to go very far, are we? And I did say, I guess I see your point. And so I'm going to point the needle towards a life of peace and harmony. And if those of you out there will join me in pointing your needle to a life of peace and harmony, maybe we can all ride our tricycles and our bicycles to the garden again, the Garden of Eden, which has been waiting for us. And I realize that you might get there ahead of us with your bicycles and we'll be toddling along on our tricycle. However, our tricycle has big wheels, you see, because Thomas was a big wheel and I was a big wheel and Steph is kind of a little wheel, but she makes sure that we go the right direction. So she has a place to play in the trilogy, and we like it that way. We like it that way. So if you will trust on me, then I will ask you one question. Will you accept my presence in your world? Will you accept me as a man who you can see and hear, and who will say to you, I love you. Now come this way, and I will show you how to avoid the destructive energy that's coming to the earth today. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Steve. That was a wonderful sharing. That was beautiful. And I think this, what you say, there is no answer. It is really important for me, I feel, to remember when I try to figure out an answer and understanding, as if there is no answer, and leave it.
Right. Just come back to reality. It's like get your feet back on the ground. Go feel the snow.
Yes.
Go appreciate your chair. Go appreciate the quilt behind you, colors, whatever, because this is
Exactly. Yes.
if there's no answer to it, the beauty is that you have it.
When I allow to be.
Let's see who else has anything to say. Thomas would like to speak his piece because I'm a piece of the puzzle too, you see? And I want peace and harmony like all of you. I want to live in peace and harmony, and I always have. I don't think I ever lost my good vibration on trying to find a way to peace and harmony. I had a few bad episodes here and there where I lost my way and wandered through some dark passage. However, I always came back to the trust on God, you see. I always came back to the trust on the reality that I could see. I always wanted to understand it. And I always came to the same conclusion that Stephanie came to. The answer is there is no answer. So just accept it. Just accept that reality is reality. And why fuck with it by trying to destroy it? So those of you who think that you can make a better world than the world you see, that you can change the color of the sky or make the stars fall or jump on a mountain and crush it, good luck. Because I'm not going to be the one that sponsors you in my reality. In my reality, I'm going to see the ones who love each other and the ones who say, I'm not going to play that way today. If you tell me to pick up a gun and go kill someone just because you want their land or because you're angry because of something that happened 500 years ago or 50 years ago, good luck. Because I'm not going to pick up your gun just because you tell me to. I'm not going to go kill my neighbor because I know I'm killing myself, you see. This is the reality that has been told to you so many times, but you're so skeptical because of all the lies that have been told to you that you don't trust on the truth, you see, that what you give, you shall receive, that you shall experience a life of pain and destruction from your eye perch up there as the eye. That's what you'll get. And if you like mud in your eye, then have fun. But if you like a world where the water is pristine, like the picture behind Sissel, and the snow is clean, then welcome to my world. Welcome to my world. And I am here to say that Steve and I are together today, this step, because we have reunited our energy, you see, into the Trinity that was created long ago when we came into our experience as a point of view. we came into the world in a way that I cannot explain to you today any more than I can explain to you how you came into the world. However, we know it's true because we have memories, you see, and those memories speak to us, and your memories speak to you. And you say, what is a memory? What is a memory that speaks to me if I am not a part of my own reality? This is the mystery of the God energy, you see, that began it all. That it left a trail of energy that comes to you as a memory. And so when Steve and Steph and I finally said, hey, enough is enough of this stupid attempt to ride this tricycle on two wheels, let's just put it back together the way it's supposed to be. And we don't give a shit what other people say. So let's just do it our way. Because the truth is that throughout time and history, we have fought over who could be the one who would be with Steph as her husband, you see. Sometimes we would come in as the brother, the son, the father, whatever, in order to be close to each other. However, it was never satisfactory because we belonged together. We belong together on the same level, you see. We belong as children playing together and as adults living together as husband and wife. And if you don't like it, then tough shit. Because if you can accept two men living together or two women living together as husband and husband or wife and wife, you can expect a woman with two husbands. And that's just the way it is. And I'm being very bold here, Steph. So if you think that you do not want to post this, that's your choice. However, it's time that people start to learn that it doesn't come in one size fits all. It doesn't come in one size fits all. It comes in a variety of sizes. And I am not sure where this package is going to land. However, I do know this, that I have no intention of giving up my position to Steve again. And he has no intention of giving us up to mine. And as long as we are all together, we love each other and we love being together. And we have a set of skills and talents that we have gained through many, many lifetimes that work well together because all three of us are all very, very, very capable of turning this ship around because our skill set between us is phenomenal. That's the only way I can say it. It is phenomenal because we have some of the strongest energy and the most experienced history of anyone on earth. And so, as a trinity, we have the capacity to reform a nation under God that will live in peace and harmony. And that nation does not have to be worldwide, you see. All it has to be is a nation of people who want to live in peace and harmony. And it becomes a model for every other nation under God. Because those people who say, well, if they can live in peace and harmony, then why can't we? If they can live in peace and harmony and God takes care of them and protects them, then why can't he do it for me? We don't say God is chosen us as the chosen ones. We are not the chosen ones. We are the ones who are responsible for our own reality. And that's the bottom line. And so you cannot point at us and say, well, you are the lucky ones, because that would be pretty stupid, you see, if you knew our history, say that we were the lucky ones. How lucky is it to be killed time after time after time, raped and pillaged and everything else you can imagine by the ones who are so jealous of the fact that we love each other so much and we love humanity, because we understand that we are the only one. We are the only one that is responsible for our lives, you see. We are the only ones that are responsible for how we see you. And if we look at you and say, well, you're pretty stupid today, and you're pretty cruel today, then we're responsible for you. Not in the way that you might say, well, hey, we have to fix it today, and I'm the one that made you cruel. No, that's not the way we see it. The way we see it is that we are responsible for the way we see you. We can see you as cruel, or we can see you as very, very confused. We can see you as someone who does not understand that you are the only one. We can see you as someone who trusts on a darkness and can't find the light. However, we don't have to be responsible for you, because you are the only one that's responsible for you. And so it goes around and around and around we go. But every time we know that love is the answer. Love is the answer. And in this one point of view, Steph and I and Steve are all united that love is the answer. And it takes many shapes and many forms. Stephanie came to me yesterday after listening to something that she found on YouTube while she was walking. When she's walking, she likes to have something to listen to. And it was a talk that Steve had given back in 1983 when he was a young man of about 27 or 28. And she said to me, wow, Thomas, have you ever heard this talk? This was brilliant. Steve was brilliant when he was young. The way that he explained things was so clear, and he talked so concisely in a way to convey to the audience exactly what they needed to hear. And then, if you listen to him when he's older, he has lost his flair. All it's about is, what can he sell? What can he sell? What can he sell? What can he sell the public? You may catch a hint of it here and there, but he lost that joy and that love for what he was doing that fueled his energy, you see? And Steve said to me, it's true, because I grew to understand that they would screw me over again and again and again if I let them do it. So I had to be prepared to screw them first. And so I came to see that when Steve was young in his reality, and my reality, because I can listen to that speech too, and to how easily he responded to the questions that were presented to him when he was only a young man. When many people today are still living at home with their parents and trying to make a living, well, they buy their drugs on the street corner. In my experience, someone who can talk to the audience that way and convey to them so much trust on his own ability to see reality and to shape it, you see, because he was shaping reality for those people. He was presenting it in a way that they could say, hey, I get it. I get what you're saying today. And they could not have him play that way. I'll tell you why. They could not let him play that way because they would have to face the fact that they were somehow unable to force him to play their way. They couldn't force him to play their way. It was like, as I told Stephanie, someone who could see so expansively that he could translate it for the audience in such a clear way what they could not see. And they wanted him to fit onto the narrow path that they had created for themselves. They wanted to shut him down, you see. And they couldn't shut him down permanently, of course. However, that's what they wanted to do because they grew stunted in their own capacity to understand that they are the only one. And although Steve never articulated it that way, that he was the only one, and he grew to think that he was just a pawn on the table of life, you see, that was trying to be a king. He knew in his soul when he was young who he was. He knew who he was. He expressed it to humanity. And they shut him down, you see, because it wasn't just about computers, you see. He was telling humanity the story of who they were. He was telling them the story of who they were. Now, some of this story is going to come out in the book that we're working on about how Steve saved the world from the Anunnaki a long time ago. And he didn't even know it. He didn't even know that he's the one that saved humanity. And that's the way it goes. However, he never lost his trust on trying to bust through the dark energy that surrounded so much of humanity. And so when he came back to Apple, he was determined not to let them control him, you see. And the only way he could stop them from controlling him and trying to force him on the narrow lane was to own the road. He had to own the road so that he could decide where people would play. And so he decided to own the road, and he did. And it cost him his ability to be free and to journey the way we all want to journey when we're on a trip, which is free and easy without having to worry who owns the road. Because nobody says to you, you can't play that way, you can't go that way, you can't do it that way, you can't ride that way. All you have to do is be respectful of each other and not get in their lane and block their path, you see? You just walk beside them, or you might be behind or in front of certain individuals. However, you get to play your way. And I want to play my way with my wife and my friend. And that is the way I'm going to do it. And if you don't like it, as Steve says, fuck you. Because we're going to do it our way. And if God is willing to talk to Steph and say, hey, Steph, you'll know when it's time to move. You'll know when the door opens that you got to go through. Just trust on me and that I will always be a presence for you. And through this process, I came to see that we are all a trust on reality. We're all a trust on the reality we see. However, it took Steph to make me see that there's a point at which we have to accept the presents that are given to us. We have to accept the presence under the tree. We can't turn our nose up at them and say they're not real, they're not real. Or I trust that they're real, but I don't want to look inside them. I don't want to see what's inside them because it might be something I don't like. It might be a mirror that's inside one of those presents. And then I'd have to look at myself and say, hey, you're uglier than I thought. And so we don't want to look inside the presence. So when you accept the presence, you are the one who accepts the presence of God in your life. You accept the fact that God is the only God there is, and that you are made of the same substance as God, which is love, you see? And when you say, I love you, you say, I see you. I hear you. I can feel you. I love you because you are my trust on not being alone. I'm not alone. I'm not the dreamer who is all alone dreaming, who will never know another. I am never alone. So accept the presents that are given to you. When you look at that tree out your window, say, I see you. I see you. And that tells me that I am not alone. When you see your child sleeping in his bed, you say, I see you. I hear you breathe. And this tells me that I am not alone. I accept your presence, you see? And if you can accept the presence of God, which come to you through that sleeping child and through that tree, then you will come to be the man or woman that will see the Garden of Eden restored to its former glory. So trust on God, trust on me or whoever else you want to trust upon, because you see, I am an emissary of God energy, as are you. You are an emissary of God energy. But if you are an emissary of God energy and you don't want to admit that God is real, if you don't talk to God and stay in connection with God, then what kind of an emissary are you? Are you an emissary of God or are you creating the devil? This is up to you. This is up to you. And so I'm going to let you know that I'm going to continue to be a presence in this reality because this reality is my reality. And I am the one you will see who will be a friend to you. And when you come back through the gate to paradise, I'll be there to greet you along with my friends, Stephanie and Steve. And we will say, welcome today. Welcome today. I hear that you have a new point of view. And would you share it with us? Come sit at our table and talk to us. And we'll serve you a meal that will heal your heart. Because the meal we will serve you is the meal on wheels, on the three wheels that work together to refeather their nest in a way that will allow them, three of them, to stay in the same reality. So take these words you hear today and say to yourself, who am I? Who are you? Where is God? Where are you, God? This is me. Insert your own name. This is me, Alice or Tom or John. This is me wanting to talk to you because I know that you can hear me. I know that you know who I am. I know that we are a synergy. And if I talk to you and listen carefully, you'll talk back. to me.
Wow. That was profound. Quite some messages we have today.
This keeps going on and on, doesn't it? This road just keeps on going on. You just keep riding your tricycle down the road or whatever, or you're on your tricycle trying to ride on two wheels and you go around in circles.
Oh, and the scenery shifts and changes and the colors and I love it.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I tell you. So yeah, I don't know where the story's going. I never know when the door's going to open and you have something. It was pretty hard for me yesterday, I must admit.
Mm-hmm.
The day before was pretty spectacular, but yesterday was hard. But like I say, I think it always comes out okay. It always comes out okay. When I take the time to sit and talk to my friends or to God, it always comes out okay. Because somehow through the sharing, the load gets shifted in some way. You don't have to carry it by yourself. It gets shifted and people give you new pieces of information or thoughts that resonate and you start feeling better. I don't know. That's the only way I know it works for me.
It was very interesting this yesterday evening. I had two friends over and we was talking and sharing stories and reality that we have experienced. And in the end, I was thinking, this is so beautiful because every one of us got a new understanding just to share stories and what has happened in our lives.
Right. For me, it's oftentimes the same lessons over and over again from a different perspective.
Yeah. But the perspective changes how you see things.
I already knew this, but I had forgotten it or I'm seeing it a different way or something. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, it does. I can't wait to read the book.
Oh, there's a big reveal in it that Steve's telling his story because he got there somewhere where he didn't. Sometimes there's parts of our history we don't want to look at. We don't want to remember them. You know, that time when you're a kid and your dad beat you for something because you're just so angry. You don't want to remember that. Whereas normally he's nice or something. You don't want to remember that because you feel guilty like you did something and you don't want to go back to that sticky thing. And so Steve had a place like that he really didn't want to address or talk about way, way back in the time of the Anunnaki. So when he told the story, it was kind of strange story, but when all the pieces got pulled apart, so you could see it, all of a sudden it made sense. It made sense with all the other things that nobody knew about. Nobody knew why the Anunnaki left. And because it was strange the way they left, that they didn't just destroy all of humanity when they left the way that you would expect them to, because they were not exactly a compassionate people. And nobody knew it. And after Steve told his story, everybody in the circle's going, wow, I never heard this before. I never heard this story before. This explains it. This explains it. This explains it all. And he didn't even know it, that was the reason. And so it's a big reveal. If people have been following the story, it might not be a big reveal to people if they're just coming to the story fresh, because they're like, the whole thing is a big reveal. But it's a big reveal piece of the puzzle for those who've been fitting the puzzle together through the listening to us and through the stories that have already been told. And so yeah, that one was a big one. big piece, a big missing piece to the puzzle. Let's put it that. You know, when you're trying to put a puzzle together, a jigsaw puzzle, and you can't find that one piece, and then you look under the table and it's there, and you say, "Oh, this is the one that makes everything else fit together."
Oh yes, yeah, I've been there.
I was looking for.
Yeah, I can't wait to read.
Anyway, any other thoughts today before we close? I'll ask if anybody there has a final thought too, but do you have any?
No, it's so much to digest again,
Yeah.
and I just love the talk today.
Sometimes when we're going through these things, we'll talk a bit or God will talk a bit, and I'll say, "Whoa, I need to process. So can I stop here and go get something to eat or go do something?" And I'll go do something sometimes for an hour just to
Yeah,
process. And then I'll come back and say, "Okay, I'm ready to pick it up." And then we'll just continue flawlessly, but I'll have processed what's already been told to me in a way that makes sense to me.
yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how this story's going to go. Steve will sum up today because I have something to say that would save the day if people would listen to me, because today is today. And if you want to save today, I would suggest that you play hardball once in a while, because if you just play softball, you'll never know what it's like to have somebody hit that ball out of the park and say, "Wow, I didn't expect that today." And it's not that you can't hit a softball far, but a hard ball goes a long, long ways. And so I came to see that a part of me craved playing hardball in order to see the other side of the mountain, so to speak. Because when you run after that ball that got hit over the fence, it takes you a while to find it as you're digging through the brush looking for it or the long grass. And then you say, got it, guys, got it. And then everybody says, what did you get? What did you get? And you hold up the ball and they say, oh, there it is, there it is. And then everyone gets it. Everyone who's looking for that ball gets it because you found the ball and you brought it back and you can continue to play the game. So you might say, we were playing hardball yesterday and Steph hit the ball out of the park because she did say, I'm done trusting on you, Steve and Thomas. I don't care what you do because you're not even in my reality. You're just in your own reality. And all of us said, oh shit, here we go again. Here we go again. Round and round. Well, she tries to figure out what's going on here. And then she said, I no longer trust on you. I just accept your presence. You see, I just accept what you give to me. I accept the presence of God and that God comes through you. That God's way of coming to me is through the ones who love me, you see? And I may be able to talk to God. I may be able to feel the love when I go into the white light, like He likes me to, when it's just me and Him, and we are two, happy to see each other. But He leaves little presents under my tree, and they come to me like the ones who love me and who I love. And I accept the presence of God in everything I see and everything I do and everything I want. And it's not a resignation to reality. It's a new point of view where I come to see that if I don't receive love, it'll just fall on the floor and lie there until someone else comes and picks it up and says, I wonder what this is, and carries it away. And you are left bereft because your love went away. So Let's trust on love today. And I will say, I am a happy, happy man today. And when I'm not happy, I make it very clear. I speak clear about that. And everybody says, stay clear of that guy because he's not happy. However, today I'm a very happy guy. And you know why. And so may we continue to play together, Sissel. May we continue to play together because you're playing with us too. And if you can accept our presents that we put under your Christmas tree, then we'll all continue to be a happy company that continues to grow until we can throw open the gates to heaven, you see, and say, hey, we don't have to stay apart, you see. We can come and go because we know that we are the reason that this world exists. We are the reason that this world exists. It exists for us, you see. It exists of us. It exists in us. And we get to be the ones who own the road, but we don't have to be constantly guarding it, you see, because it belongs to everyone. It belongs to everyone and everything we see. So just let me, Steph and Thomas, play our own way, and you play yours, and we'll be happy to play together with you.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a beautiful message, and I'm so pleased that I can play with you.
Right. Well, you are playing with us, and it's fun. Okay, I'll talk to you again here shortly.
Thank you, everybody.
I have last week's session to get up, and then this. Maybe I'll get them both done today if I'm focused. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you later.
Talk to you. Bye.
Oh.